With the draft going on, we want to know what's your perfect scenario for the draft tonight. We got a ton of feedback and traffic on this via the Twitter. Do you want to start with your perfect scenario?
Sure. I mean, the perfect scenario is you get the guy that you want without having to make the trade, correct?
Yeah.
Is that what we would call a perfect scenario?
Sure is.
So the perfect scenario to me for the Pistons is to get the guy who's a ready-made scorer, ready to jump in the league, and just ready to hit it. And that's Anthony Edwards. And if he falls to 7, fantastic. Perfect. Take the shooting guard out of Georgia. Decent size, 6'5", 225. He's ready to play. He's ready to score. That, my friends, is the perfect scenario. Not a likely scenario. But it is the perfect scenario. Now, the way to make it a likely scenario would be to trade up to 2 or 3, and likely 2, to go ahead and get him. And if you want to do that, well, you're going to have to flip your picks, obviously, and you're going to have to give up something. And, rumor has it that Golden State wouldn't mind taking Blake Griffin in return. I don't know what else you'd have to give to make this happen, but make it happen. Anthony Edwards is ready to jump into the NBA and average 20 points a game guy, and I think that's exactly what the Pistons need.
Okay. So here is my perfect scenario. The Pistons picking 7th tonight. I thought about trying to unload Blake Griffin's contract, but in the Blake Griffin trade that's been rumored is Blake Griffin and 7 to Golden State for 2 and Andrew Wiggins. But Wiggins' contract is longer than Griffin's. So I guess I don't want to take on a contract that's more cumbersome. Now, if it was a player dropping, yeah, miraculously Anthony Edwards would be great. I like Denny Advia, but here's what I think is the perfect scenario.
And Advia is the kid's from Israel, right?
Yeah, the cocky kid, from what I understand. But anyway, they draft a foundational piece at number 7, a guy that you hand the ball to from day one, and say, your team, Killian Hayes from France.
Oh, boy.
And you draft this guy. But, Gator, they're not done. This rumor has been out there, and it's been talked about. And I can see why you wouldn't want to do it if you have a rookie that you want to hand the ball to, is keep the veteran around. But as the first round goes on and on and on, they move Derrick Rose to get a second first-rounder. And I was trying to figure out what team would make sense. Utah at 23, the Bucks at 24, the Lakers at 28, Toronto at 29. And then you could take a flyer on a high ceiling guy. And you know what I envision this as? I envision this as the Sally Rodman draft. Like you've got 2 pieces in the draft that are really critical for you moving forward. And
86 draft or something.
Yeah. You remember that draft?
I do.
So I kind of like the idea of getting 2 pieces in this draft. And I also don't want to give up any future assets. So that's where I stand as the perfect scenario. Now, you can make a strong case that if you're going to have a rookie point guard at 7, that you might want to have Derrick Rose be there to, nurture him and teach him. Yeah, shepherd him. Yeah, exactly. And I can see that argument.
The trade deadline, and then you can move him at that point. Yeah. But at least give him a chance here.
But
I see it.
Yeah, but the other side of this is, all right, just give him the basketball, your team, go. And then, who's that second piece? I don't know. What if it's who's the kid from Villanova?
It's the kid that I like, right? Sadiq Bey.
There you go. I mean, add him, right? With a second first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that. He shot over 45% from three-point land last year. He's 6'8". Yeah, I like.
Okay, so anyway, this would be my perfect case scenario. So, what is yours? 248-539-9797. So, a bunch of tweets came back on this from Wild Steve on Twitter. Dream scenario, we take Killian Hayes at 7, take on James Johnson's contract from Minnesota and get the 17th pick along with it in exchange for Tony Snell, salary dump for Minnesota, and take either R.J. Hampton or Tyrese Maxey. From Ray1222, trade up for LaMelo Ball and move Blake Griffin's contract to Golden State. I just want the Pistons to be interesting, even if they are bad, for another year or two. From Chris Pete on Twitter, if they take Patrick Williams, I'm done with this franchise.
Done. Wow.
Well, we're going to talk about Patrick Williams because he's the one that they supposedly promised they would take. From Mirko Lucarini. Wow, okay. Stand pat and take best player available. If possible, unload veterans for picks. From DC Lion fan on Twitter, dream, trade Blake and number 7 to Golden State for Wiggins and number 2 and draft Edwards. You said dream. I don't know that that's unrealistic. It seems like a lot of people talked about this trade. Blake and 7 to Golden State for Wiggins and 2.
Yeah, I love the idea of moving up and getting the guy that you think is a stud, and I like that. I like there's excitement because there's a new GM in town that seems like he's really, really credible, and the Pistons haven't had that in a long, long time. So go ahead and make the moves. Here's what I like about Killian Hayes is that he's got familiarity with Sekou Doumbouya. They grew up together in France. They know each other. They played in leagues together. I think that's a plus.
Is this your Tony Parker? The guy you go get from France and runs your team for a bunch of years?
Well, I mean, if they know each other and it can help a transition, they can help each other with a transition. I think it seems like it's sound.
From MCO 527, if they move up and draft LaMelo, it would be worse than the Lions' last 2 first-rounders with Michigan's defense thrown on top of it.
Wow.
So he does not endorse that move. LaMelo is going number 1, so no point to trade up. If Hayes is at 7, take him. If not, hopefully trade back, and hopefully they're able to unload vets for more first-rounders. That's from Nick Raff 15 on Twitter. From Juanito on Twitter, draft LaMelo at any cost. I don't care if he's a bust or not. I'm tired of being irrelevant. See, I never subscribe to the I don't care if he's a bust or not theory. I care.
Yeah, I prefer not to be a bust.
Yeah, I'm against being the player we draft being a bust.
Doug, if I had my druthers,
yeah,
it would be not to draft a bust.
Yeah. I like those druthers. My druthers are similar to your druthers.
I mean, I get the point is, there's a high risk,
there's high risk
reward move. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind taking, look, I kind of get it, but I do care if he's a bust.